Welcome back to FM Story, and in this video we're going to try and rewrite what happened in the Premier League last season. We're going to try and save the 3 clubs that were relegated. As you can see from the points totals, it was a pretty dismal season for all 3 clubs. Relegation was wrapped up earlier than it has ever been in the Premier League. All 3 promoted sides going straight back down, only getting to a maximum of 25 points with Leicester in 18th. Ipswich in 19th with 22 points, and Southampton actually, for most of the season, looked like they were going to beat Derby's record of the lowest ever points total, managed to get themselves into double figures, managed to get to 12 points. But can we manage to save them? We've gone back into last season, starting at the beginning of the season, with all the transfers that happened during that season. No update for any transfers that have happened since the end of the season. And can we manage to keep them up and let them survive? So we're going to begin with Leicester, who finished in 18th. They'd gone up as champions of the Championship the previous season. And as we can see, they finished in 18th. They only won 6 games all season, a pretty dismal goal difference, and they ended up with 25 points. Going into the start of this, obviously, we've got all of the transfers that happened in real life, both ins and outs during the season, and obviously from the season before, since this is FM24. But what that does mean is that we have no transfer budget to spend and no wage budget available. Obviously, it's going to be a struggle to get anyone in that might improve the squad of which really did not look like a Premier League squad. The main concern really is the goal scoring side of things, because unless we can get a replacement for Jamie Vardy, he is going to be the one that's going to be tasked with getting all the goals for us. Before the season starts, we're predicted to finish 18th, which is obviously the position they finished in real life. In fact, all 3 of the bottom 3 are predicted to finish in the position that they finished. So we've made it to the opening day of the league season, and unsurprisingly, given the budgets that are available, we've not done any transfers in. We've not actually been able to sell anyone either. And so we're going in with the same squad that they went into the season in real life with. We are looking to start with a pretty, basically a 4-3-3, but Pereira's very attacking on the right-hand side, so we've pushed him up a touch with Buonanotte infield to give Pereira the space to go down the right, and we'll see whether we can create anything and score some goals to get us some points. We have an okay first couple of games with West Ham and Bournemouth, but that September with Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool, Tottenham does look a bit brutal. But what we'll do now is we'll just jump ahead to the end of the summer transfer window just to see if we've been able to get some players in and just to see how we've managed to start the season. And so, as we can see, we haven't exactly started the league season flying. We played 3 games. We've drawn 1 against Bournemouth. We lost to Man United and we conceded 4 on the opening day to West Ham. We did manage to make it past Sunderland in the EFL Cup. But we do have that horrible run of games coming up now. And we have managed to do a bit of business in the transfer window. It started with us selling players. So firstly, we sold Harry Winks, Al Nassr, for 17.25 million. We then sold Soumare to Al Nassr for 39.5 million, which gave us some money to bring some players in. First up, we picked up Paulo Roberto, Brazilian midfielder from Casa Pia. Can play in the centre midfield, can play in the number 10 role. At a push, can play in a defensive midfield role as well. We then also picked up another central midfielder in Shaparenko from Dynamo Kiev. We've picked up a player that can play up front in Marco Livaya from Hajduk Split. Had a great record with them, 54 goals in 87 games. And then we've picked up a centre-half in Alexander GQ from Fenerbahce as well. So we've got quite a bit of money in. We've not gone massively over the top in terms of any of those signings, but we have been able to hopefully just strengthen that squad just a touch. Tactically, we have shifted things and we've gone more to a normal 4-3-3, and let's hope that we can pick up some points. We do have that dreadful run of games coming up. We're going to jump ahead to the end of December to see how we get on, how these transfers have settled in ahead of January transfer window. And so things have picked up a touch since the end of the summer transfer window. We're up in 15th position now. We've managed to win 6 games, which included a win against Liverpool. We hammered Southampton, and things have picked up a touch. We managed to make it past Leyton Orient in the 3rd round of the EFL Cup. We beat Arsenal on penalties in the 4th round before we got knocked out on penalties by Wolves in the quarter-final. And we seem to be able to put a couple of decent results together before losing a few games. It's been a very kind of up and down run so far this season. But we're just going to jump ahead to the end of the January transfer and see if we manage to do any more business before that closes to stand us in good stead for the second half of the season. So, in the January transfer window, a bit of business. So a couple of players went out that weren't going to be anywhere near the first team picture. And then we've brought in 2 players. We've brought in, firstly, Fran Garcia, left back from Real Madrid. Immediately, I think it becomes our best left back. And then we've brought in another midfielder, more a defensive midfielder, in Samuel Gustafsson from Häcken in Sweden, Swedish international, experienced. And hopefully he can be a key player for us in the second half of this season. We have managed to pick up another win in the league. We are up to 15th. We've got 26 points, only 8 points ahead of the relegation zone. And it could be quite tight towards the end of the season here. And here we are, the end of the season. We've managed to make it up to 13th. In the end, comfortably surviving, 12 points clear of Ipswich in 18th. Everton and Crystal Palace went down. Crystal Palace obviously had a dreadful second half of the season because they weren't that far off 22 points earlier on, at the end of January there. In terms of the other competitions, the FA Cup, we managed to make it to the semi-final before we were beaten by Man City, and obviously we knew we'd been knocked out in the quarter-final of the Carabao Cup by Wolves. Looking at the squad, Lavia came in, 10 goals, was key. I mean, if you look at towards the top of the goals and assists, you've got Lavia, Shaparenko, Paulo Roberto, players that we signed. Average rating-wise, no one really kind of stood out as having an outstanding season, which I guess when you look at where we were in the table, no one probably really did. But, I mean, particularly Lavia, Shaparenko, Roberto coming in, getting goals, getting assists, undoubtedly helped us to where we finished. And so there we are. In this video, an improvement of 5 places over real life, an improvement of 20 points. We've got more than double the wins that they got in real life as well. So, in all, a pretty successful job in keeping Leicester up. And now we turn our attentions to Ipswich, who for most of the season you probably would have said had given the best fist of staying up out of the promoted clubs. In the end, they dropped behind Leicester towards the end of the season. They did only win 4 games, picked up 22 points, and straight back down. Obviously, all the transfers that happened in real life, the likes of Amari Hutchinson, Liam Delap, Carlton Phillips on loan, Ben Godfrey on loan, all of those players are there. In terms of what's available to us at the start of this season, there's 200k in the transfer budget and 10k in the wage budget, which I don't think is going to get us an awful lot going forward. Looking at the season preview, obviously it has us down in 19th. which is where they finished in real life. And overall, I think part of the problem for the squad is that there are so many championship players in it that probably haven't had a boost in their ability in this game, because obviously when FM24 came out, they were championship players, not premiership players. So when they went up in real life, they signed a lot of players that were top championship players, like Smodic, Clark, people like that. And the real question here is going to be, do they have the quality for us to be able to push on and keep them secure in this first season in the Premier League? So we've made it to the opening day of the season, and it has to be said, we don't exactly have the best of starts fixture-wise, starting with Chelsea, Brighton, Newcastle, Man City at the beginning of October. So it's going to be hard to get on the board with points to begin with. In terms of transfers, we've made one signing, which was a free transfer. We brought in Jason Denayer as a centre-half. I think probably one of the better centre-halves that we've got at the club now. If it wasn't for the fact that we had no money, I don't think it would have been someone we would really have considered. But we did need to feel that we needed to strengthen the defence. What we're looking at a 4-2-3-1, try and get players in and around the front man, whilst trying to keep things relatively secure at the back. And we're going to jump ahead to the end of the transfer window, see if we can bring any more players in, and also see how we got started in this opening month of the season. And we've started the season pretty well. I think given the opening 3 league games, I think if you'd given me 4 points at the start, I would have snapped your hand off for it. We managed to beat Newcastle. We drew with Chelsea, and it was Brighton that we lost to. We did manage to get a bit of revenge on Brighton by beating them in the second round of the Carabao Cup. Transfer-wise, no further players in, a couple of players out, but we're going to roll with the squad that we've got, at least until the January transfer window comes around. And we're sticking with that 4-2-3-1. See if we can continue to pick up some points like we have against some pretty decent teams to start with. We're going to be back at the end of the year to see how we've got on in the first half of the season, to see if there's any areas we need to improve in the January transfer window. And I think you'd say we've had a pretty decent first half of the season, up in 8th, 31 points from the opening 20 league games. That's 9 more than they actually got in the whole season in real life. 15 points clear of the drop zone. It should be a case of we are safe now, and it is a case of trying to push on and see if we can even somehow manage to claim a European spot. Level on points with Brighton, ahead of Bournemouth and Man United. Pretty decent start. Looking at the fixtures, obviously we saw the first month of the season. We did manage to beat Man City at home in the league with a late goal from Enciso. We made it to the 4th round of the Carabao Cup, where we went out on penalties. We had a great run of games in December. We won 2-0 at home against Leicester, then won 3-2 away from home against Liverpool, having gone from 2-0 up to 2-2, and then a late penalty from Jack Clark secured the 3 points there. And then we followed that up by hammering Tottenham 4-0. And the board have put their hand in the pocket, and they've come up with 28.7 million in the transfer budget. The wage budget hasn't risen, so we're going to have to obviously adjust that if we're going to try and bring someone in. But that should hopefully give us a bit of room to bring some players in what's left of the January transfer window to keep this season going and to push on and see if we can qualify for a European spot. We're now at the end of the January transfer window. We have dropped a spot behind Brighton, but we're now 19 points clear of the relegation zone. So I think we're probably pretty safe. 35 points is usually around the line you need to get to stay up. We've still got another 15 games left, so hopefully we can safely make it above that 40-point mark. Transfer-wise, we have done a little bit more business in the transfer window. We brought in 2 players. We brought in Raul Jimenez from Fulham for 425,000, which was feels like a bit of a steal to give us a bit more competition up front. And then we seem to be a bit weak at right back, so we've gone to Rayo Vallecano, signed an experienced player in Ivan Baliu, and hopefully he can come in and just do a job on that right-hand side, keep us secure, so that we can avoid leaking too many goals. But with 15 games left to play, we're pretty safely going to stay up, and now it's about how far we can push on for the end of the season. And the season is over, and somehow we finished in 7th and qualified for the Europa League. I'm not quite sure how we managed to do that over the season. We also made it to the semi-final of the FA Cup, where we were knocked out by Liverpool. In the second half of the season, we had some more good results. We had a big 3-1 win at home against Aston Villa. We knocked Man City out in the quarter-final of the FA Cup. We won 3-0 at home against Arsenal. We lost 3-2 in the semi-final of the FA Cup. We were 3-0 down after an hour. We pulled a couple of goals back, but just couldn't get that equaliser to force extra time. But we did get a bit of revenge by then beating Liverpool 3-2 in the league, thanks to a couple of really late goals. We were 1-0 up after half an hour. They scored 2 goals in the second half to go 2-1 up. And then Delap in the 91st minute and then Ciso in the 92nd minute secured 3 points there. And then we ended the season hammering Man United 3-1 at home. Looking at the squad, you have to say that Raul Jimenez came in and made a difference in that second half of the season. 21 games, 12 goals. Calvin Phillips had an outstanding season in terms of the number of assists he provided. And we obviously did it. I mean, we didn't score that many goals, so we obviously kept things pretty quiet at the back as well. But overall, pretty successful. I mean, when you consider we won 15 games more than they did in real life, we got 42 points more than they did in real life. Undoubtedly a massive, massive success in keeping Ipswich up and qualifying for Europe. And so we move on to what is probably the most difficult task, trying to save Southampton. In real life, they gave beating Derby's record of the lowest points total a really good go. It ended up with 12 points, just 2 wins out of 38 games. Surely we can at least beat that, even if it might be a bit tougher to stay up. So unlike with Leicester and Ipswich, we've actually got some money to spend. 20 million in the transfer budget, 50k in terms of a weekly wage available. Obviously, we're predicted to finish bottom of the table. And again, it's a squad full of championship players at best, really. It's going to be a tough task, I think, to keep this Southampton squad up. But let's jump ahead to the opening day of the league season and see what we've been able to achieve in the transfer market before the season gets underway. So we've brought in 5 players, 3 of them on free transfers, and we've spent a bit of money as well. Firstly, Matthias Svanberg, Swedish midfielder, coming in from Wolfsburg. Then we've added a bit of experience with Asia Illaramendi, Spanish midfielder, formerly of Real Sociedad, most recently with FC Dallas. Just gives us a bit of experience and leadership in the middle of the pitch. Then Gerard Delafeu, some brilliant technicals, available on a free transfer because in real life, his contract with Udinese was terminated in January of 2025. He's had a bad knee injury and he might never play again, but to get a player of that quality on a free transfer, can play either side, can potentially play through the middle as well. We then also picked up Rafinha on a free transfer. Again, some pretty decent technicals. The physicals maybe not so great, but can play the number 10, can play in the middle of the pitch and at push, can play wide as well. And then we spent some money on a centre-half. Mohamed Camara from Young Boys. Good in the air, strong, and hopefully can solidify us a bit. Tactically, we're looking at a 4-3-3 going into the season. We've locked Kyle Walker-Peters in at left back so that they don't pick him at right back, because I think we've got other options at right back, whereas you don't really have the quality at left back. And the season starts with the opening 3 games are relatively not too bad, especially having Ipswich and West Ham. But once we get into September and October with Liverpool, Arsenal, Man United, Man City, Chelsea to come, it's going to be a tough task. But we're going to jump ahead to the end of the summer transfer window, see if we can add anyone else, and also just see how we get going at the start of the season. So the season hasn't started particularly well. We've picked up 1 point from our opening 3 games, which was a draw against Ipswich. We've lost against West Ham and got hammered by Aston Villa, who have started the season really well. We did manage to beat Charlton in the second round of the Carabao Cup, a hat-trick from Delafeu to see us through there. We did do more business in the transfer window. On deadline day, we brought in another centre-half. We brought in Otavio on loan from Porto. Again, strong, good in the air, and hopefully can help us solidify that back line. And now we're going to jump ahead probably towards the end of the January transfer window, see how the first half of the season went on, see if we did any more business in that January transfer window, and hopefully we can get our season up and running properly. And things definitely have picked up. We're up in 13th, 30 points from 23 games. We've already won more than 4 times as many games as they won in real life. But the league is a bit bizarre. You've got Tottenham top on 56 points, Aston Villa on 54 points. And then Liverpool are 5 points further. They're drifting third. So Tottenham and Aston Villa are clear at the top of the table. But it's when you look below us in the league, you've got Brighton, you've got Newcastle in 16th, Bournemouth in 18th, Brentford in 19th, and Nottingham Forest had a great season in real life, bottom of the table on 14 points. It took us a while to get going. We got hammered by Liverpool and Arsenal just after the transfer window closed, but we picked up a good win at home against Man United. We beat Man City at home. We beat Chelsea away from home. We beat Man City in the quarter-final of the Carabao Cup. We knocked Newcastle out of the semi-final of the Carabao Cup. So we've got a final coming up against Ipswich. But apart from cup games, recently we've struggled. We got hammered just before Christmas by Tottenham. We drew with Bournemouth on Boxing Day. Got hammered again by Aston Villa. Lost to Ipswich on New Year's Day. Got hammered by West Ham and got hammered by Liverpool. So the league form needs to pick up and improve. Transfer-wise, we had some money to spend in January, but we've brought one player on loan. It was Nico Gonzalez, on loan from Man City. Just add a bit more quality to the centre of the midfield. And let's jump ahead to the end of the season. See if we managed to stay up with Southampton. Did we even win that Carabao Cup final against Ipswich? Let's find out. And we've somehow ended the season in 11th. 49 points. We've won 14 games. As you can see by the fact that we don't have a mark in next to us, we obviously lost the Carabao Cup final. Bournemouth, Forest and Leicester were the ones that went down. And yeah, we did lose the Carabao Cup final. We lost 3-2 after extra time against Ipswich. We were 2-0 down at half time. We pulled it back to 2-2 and took it to extra time, and then a penalty in extra time saw us lose out. The FA Cup, we made it to the semi-final, but where we were knocked out by Man City, and it was a crazy game. We went 1-0 down and equalised straight away. We were in front at half time. They pulled it back just before the hour, and then the 89th minute, we went 3-2 up, and then Nathan Ake, of all players, has popped up with goals in the 94th and the 97th minute to send Man City through to the final and to knock us out. I mean, the second half of the season, the league form actually didn't improve that much. We beat Arsenal 3-0 at home. We won 3-1 against Newcastle later on. But certainly, from mid-December onwards, that league form was kind of what you would expect it to be the whole season. I mean, squad-wise, Cameron Archer, with 17 goals, was the pick of the players that was that was already at the club, along with Sulemana, who was listed for loan originally. We didn't send him out on loan. He picked up 11 goals and 11 assists. Delafeu, who'd come in, 12 goals and 10 assists. Svanberg and Otavio were the other picks of the players that came in as well. And so we certainly achieved an improvement over Southampton's real-life season. We won 12 more games than they did in real life. We got 37 more points than they did in real life. We finished 11th, made it to the Carabao Cup final, made it to the semi-final of the FA Cup. And undoubtedly a big, big improvement over what they had in real life. And there we have it. We managed to rewrite what happened in real life. All three clubs we managed to keep up. Much improvement over what happened in real life. Hopefully you'll join us in the next video where we'll attempt the same thing with the clubs that were relegated in Spain. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you then.